Joining us right now, General Manager Nick Caserio here in the Hyundai Texans radio studio. Nick, great to have you with us. And when you go through what you went through on Sunday, what always strikes me is how quickly everybody has to turn things around into the next week, whether you won by 40, lost by 40, whatever the situation is. So how's it going here in the building with this?
Yeah, regardless of the circumstances, whatever happens on Sunday, you look at the results of the game, and then you have to move forward and start the preparation for the following week and the following opponent. So what you don't want to do is have something perpetuate, good or bad, for the following week, because in some respects it's not going to necessarily have an impact schematically or the team that you're playing. So the bottom line is what we did on Sunday wasn't good enough. I think everybody understands that. We're all accountable. We're all responsible. We all need to do a better job, including myself. So now we just have to turn the page. So you come in the following day, regardless of what happens, you make the corrections, you take the information, you try to figure out what went wrong, and just make sure that you don't perpetuate a problem and try to get some things fixed here. That's the only way you're going to move forward.
Nick, a couple changes on the defensive side of the ball at Buffalo. Dez moved out to play a little bit of corner, and Tav came in to play the nickel. What do you think of the way that those guys stepped into their roles on Sunday?
Yeah, they responded well. I think as the year goes on, we're going to see different people at different points, sure, maybe some different combinations, but Desmond handled himself well. Most of his snaps, let's say, throughout the course of his career have been inside the formation, so had some snaps on the perimeter. He's a very instinctive player. He has good playing strength. He's a good tackler. Tavier's fast. He's tough. He tackles well. So some of the things that he does in the kicking game, kicking game to defense, you see a lot of the same qualities. So those guys took advantage of their opportunities, so we'll see how it goes this week.
Well, what were some of the things you did well defensively that you did like? Because you kept the game within striking distance for as long as possible on that side of the football.
Yeah, we were able to get the ball off of them. Unfortunately, we weren't able to recover it, but we had an opportunity to get the ball off of them a little bit. The guys did a good job attacking the football, had some interception opportunities that we just didn't capitalize, and we just didn't make the play. So had a few red area stops to keep it competitive, and then we just didn't do enough as a team, complementary football, whether it was offensively or kicking game, to help supplement some of the things that were going on the other side of the ball. So again, whatever happens during the course of the game is going to be a team effort, and each area has to complement one or the other. Put the defense on some short fields. They were able to hold them to the 3 points, so a lot of those scoring plays. And offensively, the bottom line is too many penalties, too many turnovers. It just puts yourself in a bad position. You're behind the chains, and you just don't have an opportunity to have enough success and sustain anything.
You've seen Josh Allen grow up from 2018, where it didn't look like he did the broadside of a barn during a game, to a point where he's playing in the rain and he's threading it and makes some really nice throws. Do you look at that, Nick, in any way, shape, or form and think, hey, Davis, this is kind of different play styles, but, hey, this guy kind of had some lumps. He took some lumps when he was a rookie. Now look where he's become. Is that kind of a little bit of an inspiration, if you will, for Davis in some sense?
I would say any younger player, there's a maturation process that's going to take place. It's never going to go perfectly, so you're going to make modifications and changes over the course of your career as you go. So during the season, there's maybe some things that you can focus on, and once the season is over, I'd say a lot of times players, quarterbacks specifically, spend a lot of time working on some different things. There's a lot of different coaches and little different techniques that they work on to help them improve as a player. So then between that and then continued coaching and more experience and more playing and more practicing and more seeing and more doing, that's any player. When you put those things together, hopefully you see some improvements and some progress along the way.
So, Nick, you have the Patriots coming in here. I know you're vaguely familiar with them. Tell us, how is the offensive system here different or similar to what they run in New England? And I know they're both sort of game plan offenses, so every week they can be a little bit different. But tell us about that.
Yeah, some of the terminology is similar. I'd say that's probably the main thing. Schematically, there's some things that are specific to each team. Say in the run game, a little bit different from what we're doing in Houston to some of the things in New England. But so I'd say some of the basic principles are similar, but some of the terminology, some of how we call things, probably a little bit different. But again, a lot of it is just it's very game plan specific, try to create different matchups that you feel you can take advantage of what the defense is doing. So the system has been in place in New England for a long period of time. It's been modified and evolved, and we're going through, I'd say, some of the same things here. Our system has been modified and it's evolved as the years have gone on, and we'll continue to do that.
I feel sort of contractually obligated to ask this question. How's it going to be to look across the other side and see them? I'd be on the good guy's side for once.
Well, the one thing you learn is a lot of people, players, coaches are on different sidelines at different points. So, again, you really try not to get too caught up in that and just kind of focus on the task at hand and the job at hand, which that's really the most important thing, because in the end, it's about the players. It's about the execution on what happens on the field. It's not a lot about things on the periphery.
Well, you learned so much there, obviously, working in there for so many years. What about taking that with you here and how that's evolved in the short amount of time you've been here so far?
Yeah, it's you don't reduplicate 20 years of experience in what you learned in the course of 1 year or a short period of time. I'd say the big thing, look, was very blessed, and there's a lot of great people that afforded me the opportunity. A lot of great people that I'm still close with that I talk to on a daily basis. I'd say what you learn really from Bill, arguably is the best coach in sports. Forget about football, but just the way he builds a program, the way he holds everybody accountable, the way he teaches, the way he communicates, which I think, some people don't realize how great a communicator he really is. And when you're with him and in the meetings on a day-to-day basis, you see that message get disseminated to the team, and then the team actually put that into principle on the field. So a lot of it is just focusing on the basic principles and fundamentals, and football is a simple game sometimes made hard. So I think the more we can bring it down to the core elements of what's important and focus on that, those are the things that are ultimately going to carry you over the course of a long period of time.
Nick, on their defense, a couple of new pieces added. Judon out on the edge. Uche starting to step up a little bit with different things he can do. Hightower's back. What do you see in that defense with some of the pieces that were there when you were there, and then a couple of new pieces that came in this particular year?
Yeah, a lot of good players, a lot of scheme flexibility. Judon's done a great job. I mean, he's as good of a football player as there is in the league. He's done a great job in a short period of time for their defense. He's big, he's strong, he can set the edge, he's tough, he rushes the passer well. So everybody has a very defined role, but they're strong in the front. Guy, good run player. Godshaw, they signed him, who provides a good, I would say, presence in the middle of the defense. Re-signed Wise, who has some front flexibility. Hightower returns after the opt-out. And re-signed Van Oy. So have a lot of different people and can move them around and create some matchup problems. Uche's done a nice job in terms of his second-year development, his quickness, his ability to win on the edge. So they deploy their people in a lot of different areas, and you have to know who's where and understand the skill sets of the players. Duggar's made some improvements. I think a guy that nobody really talks about who's a really good football player is Adrian Phillips, who does a lot of things for their defense. And then Devin is kind of the quarterback of the whole entire secondary. He kind of helps solidify and keep everything organized. And then JC's as good of a corner as in the league. So when you look across, you see a lot of good football players in a lot of different roles, and we're going to be tested, and there's going to be a lot of challenges that we're going to face on Sunday.
Nick, back to the rookie quarterback situation, Davis Mills, and you're looking across the sideline. There's Mac Jones, who the previous week threw 3 interceptions, and then on Sunday night looks really good. They could have won that football game. Kind of a roller coaster ride, right? And as you said, you just have to keep developing week to week.
Yeah, Mac's done a good job. I think he's been pretty steady week to week. The one thing about it that you see that's consistent is he understands where to go with the football. He makes quick decisions. He knows where his problems are, and he's able to process a lot of information. So he's done a good job of that in early going. I think a lot of that credit goes to Josh and the way that they coach the quarterback and the way that they structure the offense. So they've moved the ball. I mean, really, when you go through their games, 2 games have come down to literally the final play of the game. So there's been opportunities right there that fumble the ball on the 10-yard line going in against Miami, and then Nick misses the 56-yard field goal the other night. So, again, 2 games has come down to really the last play of the game. So they present a lot of challenges as an overall team. We haven't even talked about the kicking game, but you probably have arguably some of the best special teams players in the league. One really in the history of the game, and Matthew Slater, well, his impact in the kicking game, is second to none.
Have you always held Slater up to people saying, look at that guy. You could be in this league forever and go to a billion Pro Bowls and really never play the position on offense that much at all?
Well, this is a great trivia question, is how many career receptions does Matthew Slater have?
Oh, boy.
I think he's got 0.
Good guess. He has 1. He caught a stock post against Miami one year. I want to say it was like the opening game of the season. But he's been in the league 14 years. I'd say the thing that has enabled him to stay in this league for so long, first of all, he's one of the best human beings you'll ever meet, but his work ethic, his intensity, his mindset, the way he trains, the way he prepares. So again, you talk about leadership, about being about actions, not necessarily words, and I think Matthew's somebody that exemplifies that. So it's a great model just for any player when you see that type of attitude and that type of day-to-day willingness to improve and constantly get better, even though you've been to umpteen Pro Bowls.
They add Henry, they add Jonnu at tight end. We've seen that group with Gronk and Hernandez with pairs of tight ends, and it's like, man, this offense with these tight ends have been incredible. How are they using the tight ends, Nick, with Henry and Jonnu, and use them together, separate? How has that group kind of come together offensively to help Mac?
Yeah, they're on the field at different times. When they're in 12 personnel, they're both on the field. When they're 11 personnel, they can put one of the other guys on the field, and the other guy's not in the game. But they complement each other. Their skill sets complement each other fairly well. I would say John is a real explosive player. I'd say the people down here in Houston, the fans of Houston, have seen him on the other side, and just his ability with the ball. He's strong. He's tough. He runs well. Hunter's a really instinctive player that's smart, that's got good hands, that's been a productive player in a passing game. So, again, they have a lot of good football players on their team on both sides of the ball, including the kicking game. So we're going to have to make sure that we prepare accordingly and be ready to go on Sunday.
Nick, outside of the week-to-week with the Texans, you continue to evaluate college players around the country for the upcoming draft in 2022. And how do those evaluations change over time? Because if somebody goes to a big campus and sees a player, they have their write-up, but you got to watch them throughout the entire season, right? So it's a constant revisit. Can you take us through some of that?
No, it's a great question, Mark. So really the first step is in the spring, you kind of watch the team, you're evaluating, understanding who the prospects are for the following year. That includes the seniors who you know are draft eligible. Then at some point there could be some underclassmen that factor in. Then our scouts will visit the campus. They'll see them practice. They'll visit with some folks on campus, try to accumulate some information, or they might see them at a live game and watch them play. So there's certain things that you're trying to get from the live look, and then you're going to have a body of work of games throughout the course of the year that we're going to track, that we're going to follow, and you try to ideally watch them against the best competition possible, because that's ultimately what they're going to play against on a week-to-week basis. So it's an ongoing process. It's never really static. There's things that pop up. Maybe there's a player who didn't play a lot the previous year, who's had more opportunities, who's played more, who's kind of come on the radar. Maybe there's a reason why that's happened. So part of our job is to understand why that's happened, and really what we have to do is ultimately we're projecting that player, whoever he is, regardless of his level of experience, into our system. And really what you're thinking about is what is he going to look like, not that first year, but the second year, because ultimately that's a true test of where the player you think is ultimately going to be.
Nick, how have things changed for the scouts and everybody out there due to COVID? How has that changed things?
Yeah, it's forced maybe just to reconfigure how you do things. Certain states, I'd say, have protocols and principles in place that preclude you from maybe being on campus or being live or being visit. So you have to do some things remotely. So it's a combination of remote. It's a combination of in-person. Really, the most important thing, though, is just getting the information, make sure we get the right information, populate that into our database and our system so that we have a reference point as we're working through it throughout the course of the fall.
All right, I've got one more for you. Baseball postseason upon us, Nick. Do you watch some of this? I know you don't have a lot of time to watch it, but you're around the Red Sox for a long time, but you grew up in Ohio, so take us through some of that.
Great. I haven't followed baseball much. I do know the Astros clinched the division, they're in a good spot. So a lot of credit to their organization, what they've done kind of in a short period of time, just given what they've gone through. I would say the recollection I have of the Indians was the Mariners, whatever year that was, in the divisional round when they had Randy Johnson. So I was sitting on the third base side, about the 4 rows back from the dugout at either game 1 or game 2, whatever it was. So that was in the new stadium. It's Progressive Field now, or whatever it's called at the time. It was
Jake.
The Jake.
Yeah, everybody knows it.
With the giant toothbrush lights up top. So, that was a fun time. I mean, honestly, baseball is a sport I played the majority of my life. I started playing baseball when I was 6 years old, played all the way up until I was 18. So, honestly, I thought it was probably going to be more in baseball in some capacity and not necessarily football.
What changed?
I made a decision to stop playing summer baseball to focus on preparing for football. So I kind of had to make a choice there. But baseball, I enjoyed playing, and the only thing I do left-handed in my life is hit a baseball. So
really?
I swing left-handed. That's the only thing I do
Golf?
left-handed. Golf, right-handed.
Really?
Right-handed. Everything. So the only thing I do left-handed is hit a baseball. I have no idea how that happened or why it happened, but that's where the muscle memory is and how I was trained.
Yeah.
Do you like all those analytics in baseball? I mean, they have so many numbers. It's all broken. It's so many games, a big sample size.
They do. The biggest thing is understanding what it all means.
Yeah.
So even as we overlay that from a football perspective, there's a lot of data and there's a lot of information that's become available. So really what you want to see is what does it tell you, what's the application, and how can you use that in terms of implementing your system. That's the biggest thing. But baseball is probably the furthest ahead in terms of that. I mean, going back to the A's with Billy Beane and Moneyball, so that's kind of evolved as well. But I'd say the overlay or the adaptation has probably come on the technology front. So you supplement the numerical component with some of the data and technology that's available, where you can evaluate metrics and skills and movements and those types of things, the biomechanics. And then, so I think you're seeing that grow and develop. And in a football standpoint, you're probably right now, we're a little bit behind baseball. The focus is on the data, then you're starting to incorporate some of the technological elements as well. But I would say this is where society in general is headed. You know, I hear everybody talk about hybrid work and technology, and this is what all these tech companies have built, so they make it available for people to utilize it. Again, it goes back to how do you utilize the information and what's the application. That's the most important thing.
Nick, thanks so much for the time. Good luck this week.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.